Strange New Worlds Season 2 is finally here, and after the best season of Picard, for me, this was always going to be a hard act to follow. So as always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, and I'm going to be talking about the first episode of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, so if you haven't seen it, this will contain spoilers. But first of all, I want to say thanks for taking the time to choose to watch this channel. I really appreciate it, and if you're a returning viewer and you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe. But anyway, before I get to the spoilery stuff, I just want to talk a little bit about the show. I'm not the biggest fan or the biggest hater of Strange New Worlds, I'll be honest. Bits of it are okay, some things I enjoy, some I don't. And if this show's for you, I'm glad you like it, and so far, Season 2 seems to be the same flavour and style as Season 1, so good news if that's your thing. This episode also highlights why I don't like Strange New Worlds. It's got all the trauma trek tropes of Discovery, and a lot of light-heartedness that doesn't really work in the Star Trek setting, at least for me. But yeah, it's an interesting opener, focusing on a new story rather than picking up on the number one stuff from last season. We get a lot of new ground, a new character, a new species, and some old foes. So let's get into the episode. And we get a great opening shot of the Enterprise at Starbase where it's docked, and yeah, this show looks great. I'm not sure if it's at Picard level, but it's a completely different style and time. But I forgot how actually gorgeous this show can look. So the crew's on shore leave, and Pelia isn't the chief engineer yet. She works at the Starbase and she's helping to upgrade the Enterprise. It's not getting refitted, it's just getting some sort of maintenance. We get a captain's log from Pike saying he's worried about what's coming, and I'm not sure if he means what's going on with number one or something else that happens later on in the episode. I'll talk about that towards the end, but yeah, Pike doesn't get a lot of screen time in this episode. So he's trying to save number one from her fate, but she really doesn't seem that fussed, because they kind of do the same thing with Pike here. He takes leave to help her, leaving Spock in charge of the ship. And while I wouldn't say this is a Spock-focused episode, he does get a lot of screen time. So his new responsibilities are causing him stress, according to Dr. Mbenga. So is that going to be Spock's Trek trauma trial this season? I don't know. He's worried the emotions might get the better of him while he's in the big chair. So Mbenga decides he needs to learn a musical instrument to calm himself. So, you know, that's that mystery solved.
One other thing.
The one thing that he hasn't got yet is Chapel. And they played into it a little bit in Season 1, but you can tell they're definitely going to lean into this whole Spock-Chapel dynamic more in this season. Anyway, as I said, the ship's undergoing upgrades, which Uhura isn't that chuffed about, and she's now an ensign, by the way. So she goes to see Spock about a signal she's detected on the edge of Klingon space. And it's from La'an. Spock wants to go after her, but Admiral April isn't having it, and it turns out La'an's been away from the ship for months, and it doesn't seem that she's in Starfleet anymore. So Spock's in a bind, he's got to help a friend, but he's been ordered not to. So what do? Naturally, you steal the ship. You help La'an, because that's what a rational person would do. And yeah, this was kind of shocking when Spock openly said he wants to steal the ship.
We must steal the Enterprise.
And I know it's a sort of Star Trek trope left over from Star Trek 3. It's been done a few times in Next Generation, and most recently in Picard. But this seems totally out of character for what Spock should be like at this time in his life. He's supposed to be cool, calm and logical, and he said 2 minutes ago he's worried about his emotions taking over, and that's exactly what's happening here. But anyway, this is even before the intro. So before they can steal the ship, the crew needs to get the engineering inspection team off. So, you know, lie about their actions and motivations to other members of Starfleet and their superiors, because they want to do what they want. And part of this engineering crew is Commander Pelia, the new character that's been teased, and we've not seen a lot of her in the trailers or the promos. And as I said, she's a commander and Spock's a lieutenant, so she outranks him. And yeah, I did mention in one of my previous Strange New World videos, I did wonder why they weren't focusing on her in the promotional material. I thought it's because there's either going to be a big reveal about the character, or they might not think she's going to land well. And I think it's probably both, because man, is that voice distracting.
Never mind me, I'm just finishing up my inspection. Oh, that I teach a course in warp core breaches at the academy.
It makes her sound like one of the witches from Hocus Pocus, and it really distracted me every time she spoke throughout the episode. Is it just me? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to talk about Pelia later on in this review as well. Anyway, she sees through Spock's plan to steal the ship, but doesn't tell her superiors, because if Spock has a good reason, she decides to help him. And of course, that's what happens. So disobeying orders and putting everyone's job on the line, they steal the ship, because of course they do. So the adventure started, and they've got a new engineer who's apparently over 100 years old, and that voice is still grating on me.
Oh, please. We can spend a lot of time talking about this.
She's a lanthanite, which isn't seen to be a species that's been brought up in Star Trek before. She gets into a little bit of her history, and especially her history relating to Spock later on in the episode. But before that, we find out, of course, that every captain needs their own going into warp order thing, because of course that's where Star Trek is now. And it really blows me that the franchise had decided to make this a thing. And yeah, I hate it. They can't have every captain doing it. Just please stop it. So the ship's on the way to Klingon space, and we knew we were getting Klingons this season, and it's sort of back to, you know, the TNG classic look after, well, let's not talk about what happened in Discovery. And they look good. You know, the makeup on this show is pretty solid, and I can tell a lot of people are going to be glad to get the original, or at least the classic version of the Klingons back. But yeah, it kind of gets weird from here and falls into the usual strange new world tropes, because La'an, who's sent a distress signal when we meet her, is just sitting drinking with Klingons. And she's looking for one particular Klingon in order to carry out some sort of deal or negotiation. So the crew show up to save her, but she doesn't need saving, I guess. And it turns out all the months away from the ship, La'an's been trying to help find the parents of the little girl from the Gorn incident in season 1. And the planet that they're on is run by ex-Klingon and ex-Starfleet soldiers who want to restart the Klingon-Starfleet war for profit.
What?
And yeah, I'm going to make another video on this because this makes no sense at all. And I kind of hope that this is a one-off story and not a season-long arc or something that they revisit. But while they're on the planet, Mbenga and Chapel get taken hostage by a Klingon who needs their help, willing or not, who has a pretty impressive underground lair with our own Federation starship in it, and I'll get to that in a second. And we find out that Mbenga's got some history with the Klingons during the war, and that looks as if it's going to be his Trek trauma trial this season, because they do lean into it pretty heavily in this episode. But anyway, the dastardly plan is revealed that the Klingons and the Starfleet bad guys are going to use this ship to frame a sort of false flag attack and relaunch the war. And yeah, like, so many problems with this, and I can see why so many people that, you know, like old school Trek or classic Trek and not new Trek are going to have issues with this. So, trapped on the ship, Mbenga and Chapel take a sort of Steve Rogers, Captain America serum to kick some Klingon ass. And yeah, another problem with this show is with the violence. They beat a prisoner to get a confession, so I guess that's how the good guys do it. I mean, Chapel sort of went, hey, you know, you're going a bit too far, but, you know, this show, it makes its good guys bad guys when it wants to be, and it's bad guys when it shouldn't be.
That would seem to be self-evident.
But they're still on the ship, so they send a distress signal to let the Enterprise know they need to destroy it, and try to escape using some very weird camera angles. I mean, that bit when they jump between decks, I'm not sure if it was to sort of indicate some sort of gravity shift, but whatever it was just a little bit jarring. And of course, they get to have more violence and beating of Klingons as well. No humans though, so I wonder where these evil Starfleet guys are at. So Uhura and Spock are back on the Enterprise when they detect the launched Starfleet vessel. And this is where I kind of worry about the writing on this show, because it looks like a brand new ship, or at least what you call a kit-bashed one. But they call it a Crossfield class.
That's one of ours. Crossfield class, I think.
Oh, one other thing.
Isn't that, you know, the class of ship that Discovery was, and it looks nothing like Discovery. So, is that just me? Did I miss here? Is it a different type? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I wonder, are the writers paying attention here? Because there's going to be a lot of canon stuff in this show this season. We've got Kirk, time travel, they set up Cyborg, so God knows what else they're going to get. And I don't know how well it's going to tie in, let's be honest. But back to the episode. So they need to destroy the ship, save their friends and the day. And the CGI looks great. Again, I'm not sure if it's as good as Picard, but it's obviously a different style. But I really enjoyed this, and they do space action really well in this show. And as always, it's great to see the classic Constitution design kick some ass. But anyway, Chapel and Benga are still trapped on the ship, and the Doctor just wants to jump out into space and hope that they're beamed up. And again, this didn't make any sense for me. Why didn't they sabotage the ship and disable it? And this is where the episode's trying to set up tension, and you've got to remember that we know what happens to most of these characters, so that means that when you think about it and you remember that, there's no tension. Unless it's a parallel timeline. Anyway, they destroy the ship and Spock gets emotional thinking that he's killed them for 10 seconds because they need to live, of course they do. And fake stakes are back here because Chapel's death fake out doesn't mean much. We know that she's going to survive. So Spock diffuses the situation with the Klingons and decides to get to know them on the planet. And I was really hoping we were going to find out that this guy was going to be the Chancellor from Star Trek VI Gorn, but I guess the writers don't really have that in them. And we get more scenes with Pelia finding out about her species.
You're Lanthanite.
Because Spock lets us know that they lived on Earth undetected until the 22nd century. So that means that they've been there for God knows how long. And Pelia mentions again that she knows Spock's mother, and that's the first human that she revealed herself to. She also says that the species are near immortal. So I thought that she was going to be, you know, Guinan or Tolian Sorin species, the Elorians. But she's not. She's something almost identically similar. But they're probably going to make her magical, more like the Q. At least that's what I think. And yeah, that voice is a definite choice.
Oh, a couple of drinks and you get personal. That's the worst thing about living almost forever.
But of course, there's no repercussions for stealing the ship and everyone's happy. But Captain Pike doesn't make a reappearance at the end of the episode. So yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with Pike, and more importantly, what Pike's doing to help number one. Is this to set up a bigger story, or was Anson Mount just unavailable for filming or something like that? I guess we're never really going to find out. But we do get a closing scene here with Admiral April talking about a possible coming war, and it doesn't seem to be with the Klingons. It looks as if it's going to be with the Gorn. So we're actually going to get a credible Gorn threat this season, because they teased them all the way through season 1 and they didn't really pay it off. But yeah, a pretty quick-paced opener that fits the tone of the show. Kind of weird that Pike wasn't in it all that much when he's your star character. As I said at the start of the episode, it's not the opener I thought we were going to get. I thought the number 1 stuff was going to be straight out the way, but I guess they're maybe going to stretch this out. I know that the James Kirk episode is episode 3, so I think they'll probably close all the number 1 stuff off next week, because I can't see them extend it to episode 4. But a lot of setup in this episode. We get a new engineer, as I said, who is a new species that ties in with Spock, and I wonder what's going to happen with his mother. I'm going to do a separate theory video on this before the next episode, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. But with Pelia, they've got a lot of explaining to do, and I don't know how they're going to do it without the character getting compared to probably Guinan, Q, or someone like Trelane. I hope they don't give her magical abilities, but they're probably absolutely 100% going to do that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, this is just my opinion. I'm going to be doing weekly Strange New World reviews and theory videos in between, as well as Silo, Foundation, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you made it this far, leave a like on the video, and if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel. As always, my name's Al, thanks for watching.